Hello everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Dawn, and I'm coming to you on behalf of Comic Book Clique for the inaugural Comic Book Clique Comic Book Commentaries. Now, what's Comic Book Commentaries? Well, as you guys know, we do a lot of cool reviews down there at Comic Book Clique. We did an entire road to Civil War in which we watched all the Captain America, Iron Man, and Spider-Man movies en route to Civil War. And we gave you guys all the cool tips, jokes, and just insights about everybody here on Comic Book Clique and how we felt about the film. Comic Book Clique Commentaries, though, say that 5 times fast, is going to be able to plant us right there in the room with you. We're going to go ahead on this side here at Comic Book Clique headquarters and press play on the movie and just record everything, our thoughts, our feelings, our jokes, our insights, all the little news and trivia that we know about the film. And it could be any film in comic book or comic book media, but today we decided to pick a big film. A great film. Someone could even say an ultimate film. Yes, for the inaugural Comic Book Clique Comic Book Commentaries, we're going to be doing a commentary track for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. The Ultimate Edition adds the whole 30 minutes, and we're going to be alongside for you for the whole 3 hours. It's all the fun of going to the movies with your best friend, me, without me eating all your popcorn and your soda and using your bathroom all the time. Now, this is going to be a long film, so we're going to break it up into 3 parts, each one lasting about an hour, just to make sure that this is as easily digestible as possible. But we're doing it all for you guys, like I said again, and we're doing it here at Comic Book Clique for the first time ever. So hopefully this goes well so that everything else in the future can go peachy keen. Well, go ahead and pop in your Blu-ray, digital, or 4K, or whatever kind of format you have this film in. We have ours set at the 0000 mark. That is 0 hours and 0 seconds. And when we press play, hopefully you guys do it on your end so we can have everything in sync and ready to party. So if you guys have everything ready, I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. All right. 3, 2, 1, and play. And here we go, the very first Comic Book Clique Comic Book Commentaries. And look at that Warner Brothers logo out there, and accompanied by a Warner Brothers logo for a Batman movie, one of the first things you're going to hear is that beautiful score. And it's something that we got from the Batman trilogy with Hans Zimmer, and now we have here Hans Zimmer reprising his role as the person creating the entire score. Did a tremendous job with Man of Steel, and now with this film. And we have a very similar scene. We've seen this scene a couple of different times in different movies with a young Bruce Wayne running away during the funeral out of frustration, out of sadness, out of anger. His parents just being killed in Crime Alley. This is the beginning of Batman, and what a smart way to start the film with this origin story that we know so much about. A lot of people were wondering with this new Ben Affleck Batman, if there his name, look at his name right there in lights, with the new Ben Affleck Batman, whether or not they were going to tell this entire origin story. And a lot of people, knowing it as well as they do, don't really want to see 30-40 minutes bogged down in a story just dealing with Batman's origin. But here we have Batman there in Crime Alley, smiling from ear to ear, coming out of the movie theater with Thomas and Martha Wayne. Martha Wayne. You're going to want to remember that name later. But, there they go through Gotham. And I always wondered why these rich socialites were just walking down Crime Alley, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in town, and expected not to deal with some of the miscreants of Gotham, And I'm guessing that man right there with the gun is the guy in Batman's origin story, Joe Chill, who goes ahead and guns down the parents of Batman. And what a scene. You can see how scared and frightened little Bruce Wayne is, Just coming out of a movie, just coming out of a happy time with his parents, and boom, first shot rings out on Crime Alley, and Thomas Wayne is down. And you gotta think, this is a superhero movie, when we're starting it off. It's not even been 5 minutes yet, and we already got murder. Murder is on the menu here at Batman v Superman. And you got Martha Wayne, my God, trying to get ahead of all this. And we've seen this, the Pearl imagery play out so many times before, starting off in the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. But it is here, I think, it's the most beautifully done, with the hammer of the gun actually snapping the pearl necklace, causing all the pearls to fall to the ground, almost looking like she was shot by accident, which is also something that we've seen in other portrayals of this origin, where the criminal is actually, you know, really nervous and just trying to get some money. Maybe he's drugged out, maybe he doesn't have it all there mentally, but doesn't seem to want to shoot both the Waynes. Does it anyway, runs from the scene, leaving Bruce Wayne at the feet of his parents at the feet of a dying Bruce Wayne. Well, I'm getting all this mixed up. He left his parents lying at the feet of Bruce Wayne. And look at those pearls, man. Those are the pearls we're talking about. Those pearls that, you know, represent the beginning of Batman's journey, when he decides that he needs to be something bigger than himself to stop criminals like that from doing things to good people like the Waynes and good people like everybody else. And like I said, what a great idea to start off this movie with this kind of symbolism, kind of showing you where Batman's coming from. Now, why would you start off what was supposed to have been Man of Steel 2 with Batman? Well, I think Zack Snyder was a really much of a bigger fan of Batman than he was Superman, and couldn't wait to play with these toys. As you can see, the bats surrounding Bruce. This is something that happened to Christian Bale's Batman in Batman Begins. You know, you see Christopher Nolan listed as an executive producer, him doing such a great job with everything in the Dark Knight series. David Goyer, same person. I mean, also dealing with the Dark Knight series. You even saw Jeff Johns, who worked for DC and knows basically all the DC characters back and front, and you know, had to have been some sort of consultant when dealing with a film of this budget, of this caliber, with these DC legends. Yeah, look at that. That's got to be pretty cool, right? Lifted into the air with bats. A rapture of bats. A bapture. He's been baptured. Oh, we got to get to Metropolis. Mankind is introduced to the Superman. Now, this was also very smart. Having these scenes that took place at the end of Man of Steel start this from a different perspective. And you can see Bruce Wayne not even waiting till the helicopter lands to get out of it, rushing towards Metropolis, seeing the world engine that Zod is using to terraform Earth. You know, Batman's dealt with a whole bunch of villains. He's never dealt with a villain like this before. And, you know, instead of staying in the Batcave or, you know, trying to come up with some kind of means of destroying this world engine, Batman does what Batman does. He runs headfirst into the front lines, not even in a suit. He's in his own car. I don't know why he's calling people thinking that they're going to pick up the phone in this kind of crazy situation that's going on now. But someone does pick up the phone, and you can see how he's trying his best to keep everybody calm. But how do you look out the window and see an alien spaceship blowing up your entire city and stay calm? It's going to be pretty hard to do that. And as you can see, Bruce Wayne is out there whipping it. Look at that. Whew. So cool. So cool. Showing a lot of the early traits of Bruce Wayne without even actually showing them. You know, doing this whole magician trick where you're looking at the hands and you're not actually looking at the trick. You're actually watching Batman maneuver a vehicle in a time of crisis and keep it calm, keep it steady, keep a calm, cool mind state, even though you can tell he is pissed as hell. Look at how this machine is just going through buildings like a hot knife through butter. Buildings that were created over time by man that took forever to be created, being knocked down by aliens in minutes. This is literally everything Bruce Wayne knows about life, about reality, about the good and evil that he faces. This is literally a scene where all of that comes crashing down in the worst way possible. And there he goes, the most famous billionaire superhero of all time, standing outside of his car, watching something he cannot explain not only destroy things, but now be destroyed. And you gotta think how helpless that makes him. I also, when I look at the scene, it reminds me of when Tony Stark went up in Avengers and grabbed that nuke and saw the whole Chitauri army. It's like realizing how small you are in this infinite world, this infinite galaxy, and with all the power in the world, you realize you may not be the most powerful. And look at that, Superman getting shoved right into a building by Zod, giving you a lot more of a a lot more of a placement of casualties in this film. We saw a lot of this going on in Man of Steel, but we didn't get to see what happened on the outside when Metropolis was going the way it was. And look at this, man. Having somebody sit there and pray in a comic book movie to God to have mercy because Superman and Zod can't handle their situation the way they want to. And look at that building falling down. And, you know, I'm from New York City, so buildings falling down, that imagery has always created a haunting and lasting effect to me and a lot of the residents here. So, you know, if that's what they were going for, they sort of kind of got it. We're watching that whole cloud of debris take over Bruce Wayne and over the public over there in Gotham, or in Metropolis, I'm sorry. And that horse is getting out of there. He wants nothing to do with what's going on. Look at Bruce, man. Like I said, powerless. Powerless. All the gadgets in the world, and he doesn't know what to do next, how to save everyone here. What do you do? Where do you go? And look at that. You know, it's a school trip. Everybody, you know, trying to survive, hold on tight. And Bruce Wayne being the superhero. And the chauffeur. You know, Bruce Wayne would make a great school trip chauffeur. And there's one of Batman's, or Bruce Wayne's employees, with their legs being crushed by a beam. And I guess that's kind of cool that Bruce Wayne's sitting there trying to reassure somebody who works for him. Look at his legs, they're basically gone. But Bruce Wayne also seeing something else in danger, a young child, and going in. Look at that. Woo! Look at that quick movement there by Bruce Wayne. Like I said, they're showing you all the cool things about Batman, all the things he's able to pull off, even without the suit. They're showing you how he's able to drive, how he's able to assess the situation, assess the damage, how he's able to save a little girl, all without the suit, just showing reflexes and skill. And yeah, that little girl saying her mommy was in that building, and you see that look right there? That's because Bruce Wayne knows exactly what this little girl is going through, as we saw in the beginning of this film, having his parents taken away from him. The anger in his face as he watches a threat from another planet take the parents away from somebody else is enormous. And all he can see is that bright red cape in the distance, causing more and more damage as this scene plays out. And look at Wayne Financial, which actually is located in in Metropolis. Keep getting those two mixed up. 18 months later, you know, year and a half past all this. And man, that's not something you just forget, when aliens came out of the sky and damn near leveled your entire city. And a big city too. Metropolis is a big city. Gotham is kind of seen as sort of a Brooklyn-esque to what Metropolis would be, Manhattan, I guess, of sorts, where all the big buildings and the nice and pretty housing and all that kind of stuff takes place. And yeah, I was kind of wondering what was going on down here. I was like, oh my God, Dawn of Justice. Are we introducing some Aquaman? Is that what's happening here? Is Jason Momoa going to show up and do some Aquaman stuff, which would be tremendous, you know? They're getting ready for a Justice League. This is Dawn of Justice. Look at this guy, man. This guy's just trying to figure out what's going on with all this diving. People are trying to find something in the water. And this is when you find out that what they're trying to find in the water is quite possibly one of the most valuable things in all of comic book history. And yes, it's kryptonite. Kryptonite, the one weakness of the last son of Krypton, the one weakness of Superman. Now, this is when things get kind of confusing. That guy right there in the glasses, his name is James Olsen. He is somebody who's always kind of been Superman's right-hand man, or Clark Kent's right-hand man. He works for the Daily Bugle. Oh, and there goes Lois Lane. Now, usually these two have kind of a relationship in itself because everybody works in the Daily Bugle. In this kind of situation, I guess not. I guess they're just meeting up to kind of get this interview with a quote-unquote terrorist on the wraps. So, Lois Lane being seen as a plucky reporter who's just trying to go ahead and get the best kind of news out there, regardless of how dangerous it might be. Like I said, she's basically looking for a known terrorist to try to get his point of view about everything that's been going on in this country. You see, they're real strict here, trying to make sure they don't have anything that they don't want in their area. They're protecting their king. They're protecting the person that Lois Lane is trying to interview by making sure that neither one knows exactly where they're going and that none of them have any electronics that might be bothersome. Yeah, that guy looks like a bad guy, and that guy looks like an even worse guy. Well, probably one of the worst questions to start off with to ask a terrorist. If do you think you're a terrorist? It's a lot. But Lois, like I said, really, really plucky, so I can't fault her for that. Now, originally when I watched this film, I thought that this part kind of slowed down the plot a little bit, only because, you know, we just saw all that crazy stuff happening with Batman. And there's a Batman vs Superman film, so you would think that they would go immediately to Superman, but they go to Superman's friends, which I guess isn't bad. Lois Lane, you know, I've always liked Amy Adams, and I don't think that she does a terrible job in this film. Speaking of film, those Kodak people, always, you know, always sticking tracking devices in my film strips, bro. And just like that, they got caught. Just like Pokemon Go, Jimmy Olsen gets caught right here in this situation and says he's CIA. So maybe Jimmy Olsen is CIA in this film instead of being in the Daily Bugle. And Lois Lane is working with the CIA to get this interview under wraps. But this warlord, this terrorist, doesn't seem to care much about what their relationship is. He sees a spy and he figures he needs to get rid of him. And look at Jimmy Olsen. We don't know how much of this is true, but Jimmy Olsen basically saying that we used her to get close to you. And I guess the look on... Oh, whoa. Well, that's a look on a face right there. And boom, there you have it, folks. Jimmy Olsen is gone. Jimmy Olsen erased from the Snyderverse. And that's it, just like that. And it's supposed to show you that this is a completely different Batman than you're used to, different Superman than you're used to, and he's gonna do with those characters what he pleases, and that's the creative choice that he has when he created this film. So you get a lot of military mumbo jumbo talk, which I guess is kind of cool. They're riding out there to go help Lois. Lois ends up inside now of this guy's house, and he is going to basically say that just because you didn't know anything doesn't mean you weren't up to anything. And everybody else just hanging out. Oh, you know what that nod means? Those nods are never good. And here comes a man with a pistol, just taking out. He just took out all of that terrorist group of men, and I guess that's good, right? Bad people getting bad people. But we don't know yet about the extent of what this is for and what's going on. I remember watching it in the theaters going, what the heck is happening? Is this some sort of evacuation for Lois? Are people out here trying to save him? But no, that's not the case at all. And look at this guy here with a blowtorch. Probably one of the most crude and unhuman weapons of all time, torching these bodies. And Lois Lane looking desperate. And look, they already have a drone out there getting ready to take down the entire building, possibly killing everybody there. Possibly even killing Lois Lane. And you gotta sit there and wonder, is it worth it at this point? Well, there's only one way to find out. That drone is heading there regardless. And you can see how upset the rest of the army people were. They thought they can handle the job, but I guess with a robot, there's no need to get regular lives in danger except for Lois Lane, who would be trapped in there and blown up if this thing lands. There it is, the target's locked. And there goes Lois Lane. And she's about to get blown up. And there he comes. The man with the red cape. I like this little smirk here by this villain, like they kind of knew he was gonna show up. And there he is. There he is, superhero landing for Superman. It's about over 17 minutes into this film, and he finally makes his debut in his blue and red glory. And look at that kind of pouty face. He has a lot of these pouty faces throughout the film. This is the first time you see it. And look at this trust. Lois Lane removing her arms, giving him the nod so he can go ahead and send that guy through about 10 sheets of concrete, and that guy's gone. I hate to say it, but yeah, that man is dead. Superman just killed that man. And with Superman coming in, basically unilaterally making the decision to go into this country without anybody's supervision and go and save Lois Lane, you know, he's going to have to answer for that. And here's some people from the village who seem to not know what's going on. They're trying to talk to, you know, trying to beg, and they see all these charred bodies, all these bodies burned to death. And it almost seems like these bodies were burned to death by Superman. That Superman came in, killed all of the terrorist men because they were messing with Lois Lane, then killed the terrorists, then set the bodies on fire, all to save Lois Lane and show that maybe Batman's picking sides. There's Lois Lane's trusty diary, I believe, or just reporter book that, as you remember from before, was shot. So it actually has a bullet in it. We're going to get to that later. But look at this testimony here. And look at that. Here we go. Here we go. Started already. People are trying to figure out whether or not we need a Superman. If we need a Superman, should there be someone who tells him what to do? Look at what this lady says. He answers to no one. You know? He answers to no one. So that doesn't seem well. Look at this game here. Metropolis against Gotham City in football. Metropolis 58, Gotham 0. Terrible. Terrible Gotham. I mean, if you guys stopped committing crimes and did better at football, you know, you'll be a happier city with all those championships. But Metropolis just keeps whooping that ass. And that's the reason why, you know. Oh, there you go. There you go. Another point from Metropolis. But yeah, everyone's arguing about whether or not Superman should be here, whether or not he should have some sort of supervision. With great great power comes great responsibility. With great ability comes great accountability. So there's a lot of that going on here, and whether or not Superman is a good watchdog for the world, for America, or whether or not we should have a watchdog at all. It sits and makes you think, you know, this is the first Superman movie I've ever seen where everybody is kind of like, we don't like Superman. You know, the public and everything. You'll see later there'll be protests for this Caped Crusader. So although this is a Superman movie, he's not as loved. And speaking about love, I love the design of those batarangs. Those things look dangerous. Off the edges, you can see the knifed edges, the sloped edges, and how they might hook into an individual. And what a creepy visual to go into a house that's seemingly abandoned and just see one of those nailed across the wall. It's pretty badass. Well, that's got to be your first sign. They don't want to get out of there, even though they seemingly were saved by what they're calling a demon. But whatever saved them, they still don't want to be free and be around it. So you got to think whatever the heck is up there has got to be a bit dangerous. So they got one cop going upstairs to investigate, the other one staying downstairs. You know, I guess checking on the girls, asking them if they're okay. But this brave young officer of the law is going to try to find out what's been going on, and it seems a little bit shooken up. Well, no, nothing to be found. But it looks like Batman has left a little treat for the cops. Seems to be a criminal of some sort, or maybe the criminal who is doing all those terrible things to those lovely girls. Batman has caught the bad guy and made a little alteration. Yep, I'd be doing the exact same thing. And look at Batman literally hanging out. And the first thing he does is go to shoot him. I never understood this part. So he goes to shoot him, accidentally almost, there he goes, boom, accidentally almost shoots his friend. And then he says, I saw him. I never saw him before. So he knows who Batman is. Was he really trying to shoot and kill Batman in that situation? Was he trying to bring him to justice? Or was he allowing, has Batman gotten that crazy where they're actually trying to arrest him? And look at, well, you see he has gone crazy. Look at that bat branding on that man's chest. Batman's branding people now. He wants everyone to know who the criminals are. And I guess that could kind of be helpful in this day and age, huh? Nice Lois Lane at the apartment montage. Lois Lane doing some laundry. Lois Lane picking up her mail. Did you really pack the bloody shirt from that whole horrible, horrible series of events from before, Lois? You might be the worst person at laundry. This is terrible. But she's getting twisted. And there it is, man. There it is right there. Bullet hole. Oh, she might have a bullet in. Yep, there it is. An actual bullet casing. Trapped inside of a book. Try to kill literature. I don't know about you, but when I get into some crazy terrorist acts, sometimes I just like to go ahead and take a like little dip in the tub. That's what Lois Lane's doing right now. And Superman coming home seemingly after the same terrorist situation with a whole bunch of nice flowers. He was going to cook. Superman cooks, and we're going to see him cook some eggs later. Now, you remember when I said Superman doesn't really smile in this film? We saw him smile when he came into the room, and instantly, Lois Lane has something that he can frown about. Making him feel basically guilty for saving her life. Terrible, terrible work, Miss Lane. But Superman has a heart, which means he has a conscience, which means he can be swayed. And as you can see, it's not really so much that Superman has trouble saving people. It actually looks like the more he tries to save Lois, the more bad things seem to happen. People seem to know that Lois Lane means a lot to Superman, even though they don't know that Superman and Clark Kent are the same person. They know that if they get to Lois Lane, they can get to Superman, and we'll see that happen again in this film. And look at lovey, sensual Superman. The kind of guy who likes long walks on the beach. Who likes tiptoeing through the tulips. Look at that. And those two. And look at Superman. He doesn't really know what Earth foreplay is. This is what they do in Krypton. They just dive right in to the tub. And there they go. Batman being, I guess, saving crimes in Gotham, and Superman, I don't know if we needed this shot, but Superman doing the tub thing. And yeah. Come on. This is a lot. This is a lot, Superman. Speaking of Batman, look at that. Nice little, there's no bat pole in this bat cave. You know, there's not no fire station. Batman has his own elevator. And his own super hip hipster Alfred. The most hipster Alfred I've ever seen. Look at those framed glasses, almost old and ironic. Nice dapper vest and shirt combination. And this is where you have Alfred show that he is just as much a part of the Batman mythos and creation as Bruce. We saw when Michael Caine was kind of helping Bruce Wayne in the Dark Knight trilogy come up with some of his stuff, but now we actually see Alfred messing with things, creating things. But Alfred always has to bring Bruce Wayne something to drink. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, how do we show that Alfred is a butler? Well, let's have him ask Bruce Wayne if he wants something to drink, or just walk up there with something to drink. Everybody likes to drink things. Now, this part's kind of confusing. Bruce Wayne is after something called the White Portuguese, and thinks that this Russian guy can lead him to it. He's telling people there's a dirty bomb. Someone's trying to blow up Gotham, and I need to find the White Portuguese, because if I don't, then we're all gonna get blown up. And look at that, Batman admitting that he is a criminal, that he's always been a criminal. And look at Alfred. Alfred just kind of turning his nose down at him, kind of can't believe what Bruce is saying about all this, and thinks that it has a lot to do with the day that mankind was introduced to the Superman. And seeing somebody with that much power do whatever the heck that they want has to make Bruce Wayne feel powerless. And then maybe that creates what Alfred is talking about, the fever, the rage, the need to go and turn a good man cruel so that they can do what they think is good in the world. How cruel does Batman have to be the Batman he wants to be? The Batman is going to be protected from all sides. And there he is playing a little b-ball, and right in Lex Alexander Luthor. There he is. And a lot of people had problems with Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal. And the thing is, to tell you the truth, and here's a little bit of a confession here on Comic Book Clique, I've never really been a big fan of the Lex Luthor mythology in Superman. I mean, I remember when I first started reading Superman that I would think, why wouldn't he just go and take care of Lex? And I guess you can say the same thing about Batman and the Joker. But Lex has always been such a stoic politician, very, very rich, has his own enterprise, and doing the same thing with this Alexander Luthor, making him more of a .com billionaire, kind of in the Social Network kind of vein. And here he's basically telling the senator from Kentucky that he has found a bit of kryptonite and even more kryptonite, and is willing to give it to the government to use as a form of defense against any Kryptonian. They use it against Zod to show that it could penetrate. That kryptonite is such a weakness to the Kryptonians that it can actually penetrate and degrade their cells. And he has able to find that out, and that's all good. Lex Luthor is supposed to be able to find out all those big things. And be able to find things like this, a huge chunk of kryptonite. When you think of Lex Luthor, you think of kryptonite. He's always been able to find that rock, regardless of where he's been looking. And he feels threatened that Superman is here on this Earth, and feels like Earth itself needs a backup plan. If Superman is Earth's backup plan for the bad guys, who is the backup plan for Superman? And Lex Luthor is trying to sway this politician into believing that kryptonite and Lex Luthor are what is needed for America, and what can make sure that things like what happened in Metropolis never happen again. And that's basically what Lex is trying to do. He's trying to use fear to force the hand of the government and allow him to do a lot of crazy things. And you're gonna see right now how Lex is able to use his access, his amount of wealth, and his notoriety to basically accomplish what he wants to accomplish. He wants to get into that Kryptonian ship that was found in Man of Steel, get in it, dig in it, play around with it, which is, you got to think, it's top secret. It's Area 51 level stuff. But Lex Luthor seems to think that he can create some sort of technology that will be able to stop something from ever happening. And it is that fear that allows a man like this to do just that. And here's that theme. That evil theme that ends up getting played just to give you kind of a classical sense. Classical music is so mathematic in its composure. You have to be able to switch keys and stanzas and stuff like that so quickly, it's kind of a good idea to give him a classical theme, something a little bit more calculating than the Batman and Superman themes that were written for this film. I'm glad they're calling him Zod. I didn't want him to just be the alien. You know, he was a general, damn it. General Zod. You know, bow to General Zod. And he was going to be there to go ahead and try to make Earth the new Krypton. But now in this film, he's just hanging out, laying around. He's just a dead body. I hope that Zod has pants on. Or else this could be a very, very weird sequence right here. And look at that. A kryptonite scalpel. This man forged a kryptonite scalpel and is using it to cut the fingertips off of Zod. I always found this part very, very weird in the film. But yeah, he puts that candy right into that man's mouth. And then licks his fingers. Something my mom told me I should never do. Here's more shirtless Superman. And people talking crap about him on the TV. And Superman should really watch something else other than the news. But maybe he watches the news so he can like kind of know where the threats are coming from. But in this film, every time he watches the news, he seems to be surprised by the fact that people are kind of talking badly about him. You know, as you know, whenever you see those newspaper clippings, you got to think those are like ramblings of a madman. And we got a madman on our hands. Now, I've seen this movie a handful of times, and this is still my least favorite part of this entire film. And I'm going to explain to you why. It seems like what we're seeing here is a monument that's been erected for Superman. And it's in Metropolis. This monument also has a bunch of names on it. So I also think that it has the names of everybody who was ever killed in the attack that Zod had when he was trying to terraform the entire world. It's the same problem of the Avengers, where yes, you can pinpoint the massive amounts of casualties, but you're not taking into consideration the massive amount of casualties that would have taken place had an action not happened. So had Superman not been here to terraform or to stop Zod from terraforming Earth, then Earth would be the next Krypton, and this guy who's right now climbing the Superman statue would be dead. But because he was personally affected and his legs were crushed, he attacks cops, he trespasses, and then he vandalizes. All things that I think, and this comes from a kid from Brooklyn, if I would go up and try to attempt any of that stuff on, let's say, a presidential monument or anything else like that, in minutes, I would be arrested, shot, or killed. Instantly. This guy with no legs is able to climb on top of the entire Superman statue because he's mad. I'm mad at Superman didn't save me or whatever. Superman was there for a reason. He did his job, or else, you know, Earth would be Krypton. And here's this guy yelling, I work for Bruce Wayne, I work for Bruce Wayne. I don't know if that's supposed to help matters. You're still committing a crime. Do you want Bruce Wayne to get you out of jail? Or is that just so Superman can hear another person mention Bruce Wayne? Mention Bruce Wayne's name. And another very heavy trope in comic books, especially when it has to deal with publication of news, something happens that makes you think that the superhero might not be all that he cracks up to be, and the news jumps right on it with a crazy headline, you know, end of love affair with the man from the sky. Come on, Perry White. You know, you don't gotta be that mean. Plus, you're doing Metropolis news, like, you should be a little bit more defensive of Superman, but who cares, right? I guess Superman should just move somewhere else. Somewhere where he's more appreciated, maybe. Look at that. Superman in Gotham actually doing some detective work. Now, a lot of this was cut from the original theatrical cut. I don't remember any of this taking place. I guess they felt that there was no room for Gotham in this film. But here you have him. You have Clark Kent in Gotham talking to some Gothamites and they're explaining to him about the legend of the guy who basically keeps him safe, the legend of the Batman. And here we interrupt this Batman versus Superman film to talk about Fight Club. Well, I guess we should talk about Fight Club because the first rule of Fight Club is that we don't talk about Fight Club. But we can talk about Bruce Wayne talking about Fight Club. I guess that's not a rule. And Bruce Wayne giving that boxer some tips. This fighter basically tells him hit him harder. Nah, I don't know what he told him. He told him something. And if you're not catching what's going on here, this seems to be some place where rich people bet on fighters and to make a lot of money. And seemingly Bruce Wayne has cost this Russian guy a ton of money by, I guess, giving his fighter a little bit of advice. Just so Bruce Wayne could speak a little bit of Russian himself. See, that was actually pretty funny because, like I said, if you know Superman, you just know Gotham is riddled with bad guys. So, like I said, if the cops are helping him, if the cops seem to be helping him, like Clark Kent is theorizing, then why again did that cop try to shoot Batman with a shotgun? Here comes Lois Lane rushing in with some 5-star journalism. Come on, Perry White don't got the money for Economy Plus. Especially when he's sending you all willy-nilly. And again, Superman now trying to talk to his girl, and his girl giving him a hard time. So far we saw Perry White giving him a hard time. We saw the guy in the wheelchair giving him a hard time. We saw that woman at the testimony giving him a hard time. Lex Luthor is trying to craft an entire weapon to stop him. This is not Superman's movie. I feel so bad for everyone who was Superman fans who went into this film and just saw that he was basically teared down, in every sense of the word. And, every villain gets a little bit of a moment to himself, so you can see how crazy he is. And this is Alexander Luthor's, I guess, portion of the film, in which you get a little bit more time with him. And he tries to continue to sway this Kentucky senator that his means are exactly what is needed, and that we shouldn't be at the mercy of things more powerful than us if we can create deterrents or weapons against them. There's a big feeling of powerlessness in this film, where Lex feels almost powerless even though he's the smartest. He says later on that the most intelligent person should be the most powerful, but that's just not the way it works for some strange reason, and that gets him upset that although he's as smart as he is, he's not all powerful. He's powerless. Batman is powerless to the things that Superman is doing in this film throughout. And then Superman is powerless to the opinions other people have of him. And you see, they gave Lex a lot of like nervous tics and stuff. He does a lot of and now he's like drumming his fingers. A lot of stuff made him seem like he had like a disorder or something, that kept him kind of jittery and stuff. I'm not saying that our supervillains can't have nervous tics or whatever, but I always saw Lex as so calm and cool that I feel like every word that would come out of his mouth would be thought about 10 times over, so he wouldn't really have a lot of ad-libs and noises that he makes, nor would he drum his fingers on the table. And we get the first mention of Granny Sweet Tea and a jar of piss, which will all come back later on to haunt us, much later on. There it is, more God and the devil talk, and like I said, Lex Luthor feeling powerless to a guy like Superman considers him a devil. And another scene we've seen a million times before, a sad Bruce Wayne going to the graves of his parents. Um, Bruce Wayne's sad, everybody. I'm not saying he shouldn't be sad. I actually lost my father about a year ago, and I'm still, dealing with it. But there's a lot in this Bruce Wayne coming to his parents' age stuff. And look at that. They weren't even all that old, They were less than 40 years old when they got killed. And Bruce is gonna say later on, "I'm older than my dad would ever have been," And that kind of stuff has to mess with him. Okay, and I guess all this is a little bit weird. Kind of got blood dripping from Martha's grave, which I guess should have been a telltale sign of what was gonna come later, but no, just weird stuff. Or is that blood? It's like kind of black. It just ooze. And there's the bat to eat Batman. Oh, but Batman's awake. Awake with most likely some sort of high class ballerina or supermodel from Europe, and now he's hanging out, drinking, taking pills. This is an older Batman, ladies and gentlemen, a Batman who's been around the block. He's been through his share of stuff. And look, he's drinking away. Look at the floor. The floor is just like messy. What did he do last night? He went and saved Gotham, and then he just kind of went a little crazy. There he is. Look at that's a beautiful home. And here comes hipster Alfred with his scarf. I like his coat. But very sarcastic to Bruce Wayne throughout this entire film, which is something that Alfred kind of has been, the other car and all that other kind of stuff. I think we're going to need a bigger cave. That stuff from the other films. But this one's a little bit more like his older brother, I would say. As more than the father figure we see in the other films. So we got Bruce, who thinks that the white Portuguese, this dirty bomb that he's looking for, is going to LexCorp. And although he's been interrogating everybody and trying to figure out a way into LexCorp to find this dirty bomb he seems to think, or he seems to tell Alfred that the white Portuguese has, he can't find a way into LexCorp. But guess what? Bruce Wayne has been invited to LexCorp, which is another big thing in these Batman films. Bruce Wayne is always being invited right where he needs to be. So now we got the brooding Bruce Wayne staring at the bat suit. Look at that. I've never stared at a piece of clothing the way he's staring at this bat suit. But then again, I've never been a superhero, so that might actually be a lot. That might actually be exactly what you do. And this is deep cuts. This is great. This is Robin, Jason Todd's outfit. Ha ha ha. Joke's on you, Batman. That means that Jason Todd was seemingly killed by the Joker. Robin was killed by the Joker already, and there's some bat butt. But besides the bat butt, it's very important that that is in the film, which means that they can do the Under the Red Hood storyline where Jason Todd comes back as the Red Hood, one of the greatest storylines in Batman history. Besides that fact, we also deal with the fact that there's a Joker in this universe. This is the first time we heard about him. Before Suicide Squad is even mentioned, there is a new Joker in this universe, and he has killed Robin, making Batman, yes, a little bit more angry, a little bit more serious. And this is a scene we all saw play out in the trailers. I feel like this entire scene was in the trailers, where Bruce Wayne shows up to this gala, same gala that Clark Kent, reporter Clark Kent, reporter who should know who Bruce Wayne is, Clark Kent, shows up also, and they're in the same, scene or the same building with Alexander Luthor. the person who this entire gallery is about. And look at that beautiful, beautiful woman right there. Obviously caught Bruce's mind, and she seems to be staring at Bruce. And look at that, Superman hearing Alfred in the ear of Bruce Wayne. And I wonder if then he knew he was Batman, or that he just thought he had some super cool Bluetooth technology or something. He never actually says anything about bat this or bat that in the ear of Bruce Wayne. So I can see how maybe Clark didn't jump to that conclusion right away. But it had to have been very, very suspicious, you know, of like, who the heck is this guy talking to? And what are they planning? Because if Bruce Wayne, let's say Bruce Wayne was Black Mask in Gotham and was actually the person creating the crimes in Gotham, he would be doing the exact same thing, right? Sneaking off and going into some place he shouldn't go into to find some secret information. I feel like Superman should be on this, but he's trying to get an interview with Lex Luthor, I believe. So that's probably why he doesn't try to research this any further than he feels like he should. And Bruce Wayne hooking a Tamagotchi up to the database so he can go and steal as much as he can, and then acting drunk. Look at Bruce Wayne pretending to be drunk. What a great that was a great facial performance by Ben Affleck as he shows just how frustrated he is trying to play the dumb drunk millionaire. See, that's exactly that's the issue right here. He feels he is the smartest and he should be the most powerful. So while this guy's a little bit more crazy and erratic than the normal Lex Luthor we're used to, I want to believe that he is the adolescent Lex Luthor. So he is, his dreams are big, his goals are bigger, his, you know, the things he wants to do and accomplish and stuff. Oh, and here comes Wayne and Kent, face to face. You saw him kind of roll his eyes there. Batman's like, listen, I kind of got everything. I also feel like Superman in this scene could possibly have this conversation with Batman, and then also just like X-ray through his suit to see like maybe his ID, or not his ID, but like he's gotta have other bat gadgets on him, right? Maybe Superman is just used to not having to assess threats everywhere he goes, and you know, now he sees how people see Superman. Batman basically saying that, you know, he can level an entire city, and you guys kind of over there celebrate him for that. And what a great line about the freaks dressed like clowns. And then right when you think things are going to get even more funny, here comes Lex Luthor, who, like a kid with his favorite video game action figures, is trying to do his very best to create a fight between these two. Maybe not these two, but you know, as a matter of fact, yes, these two. Because later on it's going to be said that Lex Luthor knows who Bruce Wayne is, or knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and also knows that Clark Kent is Superman. So yeah, I think in this scene, he actually is placing the breadcrumbs to have those guys battle it out. A 7-minute transfer for an entire database. That's actually pretty good. Some good Gotham technology. Gotham OS. Batman OS. This time Superman not so sneakily going right behind Batman's back to find out what the heck he's going and what the heck he's trying to do. And look at that. Superman finding out about a fire at the Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead ceremony in Juarez, Mexico. and basically has to get out of there. Even though he knows Batman is up to no good, or Bruce Wayne's up to no good, he has to go save the day again. And that's the constant struggle of a Superman character. And Batman just got Batmaned. Someone just took his technology and is walking away with it, and is dressed quite well. That's basically the entire Batman character. Batman really got to be a lot more careful with females. It's, Talia al Ghul and the Catwoman. Everyone's always tricking him. Even Poison Ivy. They had that weird Poison Ivy thing in the other one. And he looks incredibly frustrated. But yeah, juxtaposed to all the kind of criminal vigilanteism that Batman is doing, we're getting a lot of these scenes here of Superman going out of his way. He was in a whole other country before this started. Out of his way to save other people, and all anyone is doing is talking crap about him, telling him that it's not worth it, he's not worth it, maybe we don't need a Superman. All this other kind of mumble jumble, which that I think is kind of silly. I mean, I understand that we would feel threatened in the evolutionary process, that if somebody like this could exist, then what does that mean for the rest of us? We must be less than. We've got to be lower on the food chain if there's more people like Superman out there. And I get how that can make people feel a little bit on edge, but that should not be the driving force, right? Behind how and why we live our lives. We shouldn't be living in fear. And I guess it's not up to us to make those decisions, those calculated risks. It's up to our government, and that's what our government's trying to do in this film, is trying to figure out whether or not an individual with this much power should be allowed to exercise that power as he sees fit. It's the Avengers Civil War argument. Just because you can save the world, should you have to save the world? And Superman's putting a lot on his shoulders, even this entire Russian rocket, which comes straight out of a comic book, by the way, this imagery. But you still have people spending their time poking holes in the Man of Steel. Almost just to poke holes, just to, say that he might be a danger. And we don't even know that yet. All we know is that those who want help from him will get it. And that's what they're showing right here. A flood taking over an entire city. A lady and her husband and daughter being able to draw the Superman logo on their house. And Superman being right there to save them. It's heartbreaking, and beautiful, because there's been times where a lot of us have been in some of the most horrifying moments of our lives, and we wished we could just look up to some sort of savior who will come down in a red cape and solve all our problems. And in this universe that actually happens, and in the universe where that actually happens, people are saying that he shouldn't be doing these things. It's completely out of control, and there goes Clark Kent again, watching television and just being insulted over and over again on television. He should really get a Netflix account and try to do his best to, watch his own stuff. Maybe he should watch other Superman movies. I wonder if there's Superman movies in this universe. There's Martha Kent. Martha Kent. I'm just doing a name check, so trust me again. It'll be very important in the future. We got a nice, a nice mother-son talk here. In the original Batman films, the original Superman films with Christopher Reeves, they very rarely went back to the Kent house or spoke to the Kents. In Man of Steel and in this film, Superman always likes to double check with his mom, which is something, I like my mom, so it's something that's a little bit cool, but it kind of makes him seem a little bit uncertain, and Superman is kind of one of the most certain people of all time. You kind of got to be certain with all those powers, or else you'll drive yourself crazy. This is also a deleted scene with the ballistic analyzing of the bullet that was taken from the scene earlier with Lois Lane and the terrorists. And they decided to put this little ditty back in the film because it does a lot to show how this entire setup was created by Lex Luthor. And here comes Clark again, reading some more stuff about Batman and the Bat brand, getting more upset about how Batman handles his prisoners. And, people are also saying that the main issue is this, that once a criminal goes into custody, goes into jail, goes into prison, that if they have that Bat brand, other criminals will just immediately try to kill them. That's basically like, this is the scum of the earth. If somebody has one of these scum of the earth tattoos, feel free to get rid of them. They are a waste of time. And look who's getting out of jail. The guy who wants to go ahead and spray paint all over Superman. And he says, who paid for my my release? Who likes me? Basically. And goes all the way to his apartment to find Lex Luthor in his own little bat wheelchair. That wheelchair looks pretty sweet. And look at that. Look at that sweet wheelchair. Like I said, looks pretty cool. And then you have the senator come in, dealing with this man who dealt so closely with the Superman situation, actually did the hate crime, and wants to sit here and tell the senator his side of the story. And why Superman, it might not be the Man of Steel, the Cape Crusader we all know and love. Yeah, that's a lot there. So he wants to testify against Superman and let Superman know that his actions have consequences. And speaking of actions having consequences, here comes that criminal from earlier with the Bat brand that was on his chest. And like I said, that Bat brand basically means the scum of the earth, and people in jail will take care of you if you have that brand. So next thing you know, yeah, all over. All over. And in the Batman Superman movie, no less, I never thought we would see a prison shanking, but that's exactly what we've seen. And there's been a death. And we're going to pause it right there at exactly the 1 hour, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds mark of Batman vs. Superman. A lot of stuff getting set up. A lot of stuff in the works to come. I'm excited for the other scenes that happen. I hope you guys are continuing to watch right alongside us. And I hope my commentary has been able to make your viewing experience oh so special. I love doing this, and we'll continue this in our other installment, the second of 3 parts of this commentary. Like I said again, splitting it up into our little bites so that you can take some breaks. I know we're talking about a lot here, and we'll be back with part 2 soon. But if you like all these things that are happening here on Comic Book Clique, all you have to do is go to facebook.com @ComicBookClique, Instagram @ComicBookClique, and use the hashtag ComicBookClique to talk about all the newest, hottest, greatest, and latest things to come to comic books and comic book media. And it's the only place where you can have these comic book commentaries, live reviews. We're doing a Joker week for Killing Joke. Fantastic things coming down the line for Comic Book Clique, but you have to be connected. You have to share, you have to like, you have to subscribe. We get bigger by the minute, and we get bigger because of you. I've been to the future, and Comic Book Clique is the #1 stop for all comic book reactions, videos, media, and more. And it's gonna be you guys that help us get there. Again, the film has been paused at the 1 hour mark. My name is George Serrano, aka the Don. This has been a tremendous first inaugural episode of the CBC Comic Book Clique Comic Book Commentaries. Don't forget to follow alongside. We'll be back again, starting off at the 1 hour mark. I guess there's nothing else left to say, but you are worthy.